everything we do in the service department revolves around a mindset of service, serve, to help. And if we don't operate in that mindset, we're never going to succeed. Everybody wants to be helped, and most people want to give help. And if we operate in the mindset of that, I'm just in service, I'm here to help you, I'm here to serve you, that's a far better mindset to operate within. If customers come back to an organization that respects them, appreciates them, offers them good value, and the customers perceive good value, the same as employees. The employees feel that they're valued, that it's a good place to work, that they enjoy what they do, they've got systems, processes, and strategies that help them achieve their goals. It's a no-brainer.
Welcome to Retention Roadmap, navigating service success for new car dealerships. I'm your host, Bill Springer. Today's podcast is sponsored by DriveSure. DriveSure helps new car dealerships remain the go-to provider for maintenance, tires, and repairs. For more information on how DriveSure can help your dealership, go to drivesure.com/dealership solutions. Today, I'm excited to welcome Kieran Stack, founder of Service 101 and a leading voice in after-sales and service advisor training. Based in Australia, Kieran has a reputation for helping service teams deliver consistent, high-quality customer experiences that drive retention. Through his Service Advisor 101 program and ongoing coaching, he equips advisors with the tools and mindset to succeed in a fast-changing retail service environment. So, Kieran, welcome to the podcast. Great to have you here.
Awesome to be here, Bill. Finally, this has been an effort to make it.
We've been trying to get this
it.
arranged for quite some time. So thrilled to have you here.
Thank you.
So let's just jump right in. We were talking just a moment ago about the role of service advisors, the role that service advisors can play in driving retention and making sure that customer comes back, and the critical role that they play. Why is the service advisor role, in your opinion, Kieran, so central to customer retention in today's service environment?
It's a question that gets asked in many different ways, Bill, but probably not as direct as that. Again, it's a role that's been around for a long time, and many consider it a transactional role, which is the one that customer comes in, you serve them, you sell them additional work, and you say goodbye to them, and you do that 10, 15, 20 times a day. And as I mentioned at the very start, is that it's become a transactional role as opposed to a relational role. And the unique thing about what we sell in the service department is that nobody wants it. Like, nobody looks forward to getting the service. No one looks forward to getting new brakes. I can't wait to get new tires is not a saying that anybody ever announces out loud.
Yeah.
So regards to helping them come back, it's the mindset of evolving that to a relational role. So if you don't connect with your customers, they're not going to want to come back. And that was literally the exact term that you used a few moments ago. And for those of you who are watching online as opposed to on radio, I've got my own sock collection, Bill. Did you know that? I've got my own sock collection.
I don't know.
Well, I've got 9 different versions of these socks, and I'll get you to read out what it says on this sock. So each sock has got a unique message.
Okay.
And what does that say just here, Bill?
Help customers want to come back.
Help customers want to come back. And as I say to everyone in every single training, that's the ultimate responsibility of the service advisor. And the first word is help, Bill. And everything we do in the service department revolves around a mindset of service, serve, to help. And if we don't operate in that mindset, we're never going to succeed. And the word help is a unique word because it doesn't say force your customers to come back, convince your customers to come back, cod your customers into coming back, fool them into. It doesn't say that. It says help them. And everybody wants to be helped, and most people want to give help. And if we operate in the mindset of that, I'm just in service, I'm here to help you, I'm here to serve you, that's a far better mindset to operate within. Yes, we can have different tools, different incentives, different strategies for customers coming back and from a retention program, which we've spoke about offline. But if I as a customer don't enjoy the experience and don't feel that Bill was my service advisor, he was amazing, he took care of everything from A to Z, and I couldn't fault the entire experience. He kept me updated. He built value into what we did. He helped me buy the brakes. He told me that I'm going to have my tires at my next service. It was great. Everything
Yeah.
was appropriate. But when we operate in that transactional approach, whereby, yeah, Bill, listen, the technician's recommending brakes. You might want to get them done. Do you want me to quote them now, or will I just put it down as a recommendation?
Hmm.
That's that's crazy. Yet we hear it all the time.
Yeah, I love that. I love that distinction of really focusing on s- on service really helping the customer. And I'm curious what you think, Kieran, of what I've seen, and I haven't been able to prove this point from a analytical perspective, but I'm confident that it's there. Is that it seems to me when I look at retention metrics of dealership clients and my own perception of the dealership's turnover of service advisors, I think you can draw a pretty direct correlation between. I suspect you'll be able to draw a pretty direct correlation between high service retention rates and low turnover amongst service advisors. Agree? Disagree? What do you think? Not important? Important?
I it's a bold claim, but at the same time, we don't have the analytics around that. But in
Right.
many ways, Bill, it's just the same as any business. If customers come back to an organization that respects them, appreciates them, offers them good value, and the customers perceive good value, but the same as employees. If the employees feel that they're valued, that it's a good place to work, that they enjoy what they do, they've got systems, processes, and strategies that help them achieve their goals. Like, it's a no-brainer, and I would absolutely agree with that. But what's interesting about your point is that I was at NADA last year in Las Vegas, and there was a piece on, or there was a session on service advisor retention, and what they mentioned is that 75% of service advisors now are non-technical, so they don't come from the workshop floor.
Hmm.
So where have all those people gone? Where have all those people who were technicians in the 90s and early 2000s and they stepped into the advisor role? They've now left. Now, I know they've gone into other roles perhaps, but a lot of them have left. And I see that every single day myself. 15 years ago, it was the opposite. It was 75 technical and 25% non technical. We
Interesting.
didn't have this shortage.
Hmm.
So where I'm going with this is that the other points that they raised at the NADA was that the reason why people are leaving is due to lack of training, and lack of training in 10 different areas. Now, the first four were technical knowledge, infotainment knowledge, EV knowledge, and product knowledge. They're four, but they're not four. They're one. It's just an awareness of what the car does, how it drives, how it works, and what it is. And the next thing that these people who had left and they were surveyed wanted was sales training. And we were only talking about this the other night on SDL, which is Service Drive Live, which is a podcast that we hold every Sunday night or Sunday morning where you guys are. And we were talking about the lack of service advisor sales training. And this is exactly what I live and breathe every single day.
Hmm.
And then finally, it was number 6 was customer service training. But in many ways, those three things are not six. So those three things are not six things; they're three, and it's technical training, sales training, and customer service training. They're three
Hmm.
things. That's all we
Yeah.
need.
Hmm.
And and this is the stuff I live and breathe every single day. And the reason why people are leaving is because they don't have the mindset and the skill sets to help them advance and be successful in their role. And on top of that, and you'll know this, is that we're operating in 2025 with the same processes and strategies and even systems that we operated in 2010, 2005, 2002, and even
Right.
older in some parts of the world.
Right. Right. Yep. So let's go one level deeper. What do you see, Kieran, as the kind of the biggest gap that you see between a top performing service advisor and an average advisor? What's the difference? What does a top performer do or bring to the table that an average advisor doesn't?
That's a powerful question. And it's a question I wish I was asked every day. And like, as you asked that question, Bill, I would love for every advisor to ask me that question. I really would, because it's a coaching question, right? It's a case of, hey, I'm Bill. I'm not sure where I am in terms of my performance, but I want to be excellent. I want to make as much money as I can. I want to put my family in a bigger house. I want to be successful. And it's a coaching opportunity. But most people won't ask me that question, which until you asked it was is it's dawned on me that it's annoying. Anyway, what's the difference? It goes back to the very first thing I said, Bill. It's the transactional mindset versus the relational mindset. Transaction
Yeah,
versus relation.
yeah,
And the best advisors out there, and the ones I learned from as an advisor myself, is that you must make friends with your customers. You must collect customers. You must make them feel special. You must become friends with them. But when we're too busy putting out fires, when we're too busy following up pieces of paper, when we're too busy chasing spare parts because we don't have the right processes and systems in place, it's very hard for an advisor to do that.
yeah,
However, I've been to dealerships where we literally just iron out the processes, we evolve them from 2010 to 2025, and we give service advisors the freedom and the language and the mindset that this is how we interact with our customers. And we're not at a supermarket where we're or a grocery store where we're going, yeah, who's next? Yeah, beep, 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 beep. We don't do that. It's good
right.
morning, Bill. I'm Kieran. I'll be taking care of you in your car today. How's it been going? You enjoying it? Great. And having a conversation about your day, having a conversation about how the car is going for you, what you're enjoying about it. If there's anything additional that you raise with me, I'll take it seriously and I will investigate a little bit further by asking better questions.
Yeah,
But some people listening will go, well, I don't know what questions to ask. And that's a training shortfall, or it's an equipment shortfall. Equipment either physical or equipment either mental, one or the other. So the differences are that relational versus transactional in terms of their mindset, but it's also the professional development bill. Most service advisors get what I call is the three C's of service advisor training. Bill, do you know what the three C's of service advisor training are?
I do not.
No. So on day one or week one, they get the three C's. And it's there's your computer, there's your chair, see you later. Figure it out for yourself. And we wonder why people churn and leave because we
Yeah,
give them the three C's and we get them to figure it out. We get them to burn our customers by not knowing what to do, not knowing what to say.
yeah,
But
yeah,
on top of that, and this is what's very, very important to me, is that the highest performing advisors are focused on the thing between their ears. And I'll show you another sock, Bill, and you can tell me what this sock says. What does this sock say, Bill?
skills pay bills.
Skills pay bills. And what's the emoji on it?
A brain.
A brain. Because that's the most successful advisors are the most emotionally intelligent ones, the most committed to development and working on this thing between our ears. And that's what I say to people is that they come off the tools and I'll ask them, what kind of toolbox have you got? And they'll tell me maybe a snap-on or something, even something that they invested a lot of money in. I said, how much have you invested in your tooling to be a technician? And they'll say 20, 30, $40,000. And I'm like, wow, that's a lot of money. And I'll say, how much have you invested in your service advisor toolbox? And they'll say, I don't have one. I'm like, you do have a service advisor toolbox. And he goes, no, they give us free pens. We got a free phone. We got a free computer. We got a free desk. And I'm like, okay, but you do have a service advisor toolbox. And Bill, you know where the service advisor toolbox is?
Yeah, sure.
It's right in there. And you must invest in that. But the majority of people don't. And we wonder why we're not getting better. We wonder why we're not advancing to the highest potential of the role. And these are our future service managers. These are our future after sales managers or fixed ops managers. These are our future dealer principals if they want to be. But the majority of people won't invest in this thing between their ears. And again, I'm not self-promoting here, but I did write a book about 3 years ago called Service Advisor 101. And it literally says in the front cover, and it's written in a bunch of different languages, as you can see above my head here, because there's parts of the world who want this content. And it's literally 26 pages, and the majority of it is self-coaching, and it takes 30 minutes to read. So if you're a service advisor out there, or a dealer principal out there, or a fixed ops manager out there, and Bill, you can reveal my details afterwards. If you're listening to this and you message me on LinkedIn, I'll send you a copy of it. Doesn't matter where you are in the world, except for Ireland, because they keep sending them back to me, even though I'm from there originally. Yeah, the post won't let them in for some reason. But if you're in the US and you want a copy of this, I'll happily hook you up with a copy of it, because I want you to be successful. I want everybody to be successful. But it's a blueprint to becoming a high-performing service advisor. It literally talks about our communication skills, our mindset, and always looking for the edge, always looking to get better and not stay the same. And Bill, to answer your question, that's what separates the average from the high-performing.
Beautiful. You know, when your Service Advisor 101 program kind of outlines a pretty clear path for to teach high performance, what are some of the more impactful habits or frameworks that you work on with service advisors? You know, if you can distill those down, what would those most impactful ones be?
There's many, but to answer your question, what would the most impactful ones be? And it goes back to what I said a few minutes ago, and it's about the communication. And it's always about the communication. And the majority of my trainings, and I look around my office here, I've got a bunch of feedback from from a recent course. It's back over there. But the majority of it is, I'm going to start saying this instead of saying this. I'm going to start operating in a mindset of relational as opposed to transactional. But the majority of it is that communication piece. And what I'd say to people as well is that I talk about a guy called Chris quite a lot. And I was in Auckland in New Zealand about 12 months ago. And I met this guy, Chris, earlier in the week, because we were doing training across the entire group. And it was 7:15 in the morning. Chris walks in a pair of sneakers, shorts, and a polo shirt. And I said, "Morning, Chris. You not working today?" And he goes, "No, I'm working today. I'm working every day." And he proceeded to go up to a cupboard beside his desk, and he opened the cupboard and he pulled out a suit bag. And I said, "What's in?" And this is an Audi dealership. I said, "Chris, what's in the bag, mate? What's in the bag?" And Bill, do you know what he told me? Do you know what he said to me?
What's that?
He said, "It's my service advisor." What do you reckon was in the bag, Bill?
His uniform.
So he didn't use the word uniform, yet there was a
Costume.
costume. Got it.
Is that
He
right?
said
Yeah.
it. Got it.
Okay.
He said, "It's my service advisor costume."
Yeah.
And I'm like, I need to drop my coffee, because I'm like, that's so powerful and impactful. Because Chris, between the hours of 6 p.m. and 7 p.m., sorry, 6 p.m. and 7 a.m., is just Chris. But as soon as he comes to work and he puts on that costume, he becomes Chris, the service advisor. Now, Chris, 12 months ago, was a service advisor. Now he's a service manager at an Audi store as well, another one. And he's always working on a thing between his ears. He's going to be extremely successful because he operates in a mindset of, I'm putting on a show. Because he puts the costume on, he puts the show on. But the thing about people who wear costumes for a living, the majority of them are actors. And an actor is given a costume, and they're also given what else are they given, Bill?
The script.
A script. And sorry, I do this in training all the time, where I
Yeah,
get the
please.
people in
Yeah,
the
I love
room
it.
to answer the questions, because we're all smart people. We just need to put it into a framework. So the thing that he needs is a script. And the script is what you say, and then it's his responsibility to then bring it to life. He's wearing the costume, which the majority of us are, and you're wearing one right now. You're wearing a Drive Shore costume.
Yeah.
You might not have considered like that before, but
That's
you
right.
are, and you're representing Drive Shore every moment that you're wearing that costume. the same as what comes out of your mouth is also representative of DriveSure. And if
Right.
you consider some of the massive global manufacturers, we've got someone in the middle of nowhere wearing a whatever branded top. The customers are looking at them going, that person is representing that entire organization, and I'm not getting the level of expectation that I expected from
Hmm.
that brand. And
Yeah.
they'll blame the brand as opposed to the person. But
Sure.
it's sorry, not always, it's usually the person. And what
Sure.
I'd like to say, just to finish off that piece, Bill, is that when you have the costume, which is the clothing, but also the mindset around it and the script, you can go to untold destinations in your career. And I see that time and time again with the likes of Chris, with the likes of some of the other service advisors I've worked with for the last 8 or 9 years, and you've seen them step into dealer principal roles because they've been thoroughly focused on the skill set of a service advisor, which is their ability to put on a show and their ability to know what to say. Now, we can go hyper deep into the language that we use and exchanging this for exchanging this, or trying to figure out where there's opportunities for growth. But one that I will leave you with, Bill, and this is probably one of the trickier ones to exchange, because in my training I will go through an entire, I don't know, about 20 different words that we use every single day in service departments globally, and I will help the advisors realize that saying these words is crazy because people often don't know what they mean. And like no one knows what a repair order is unless you work in a dealership. Nobody
Yeah.
knows what a dealer principal is until you work in a dealership. It's crazy that we use
Yeah.
this sort of terminology with our customers. And a repair order is just paperwork, right? It's just paperwork. It's less invasive, less intrusive, and it reduces cognitive load on a customer. But one that I will give you is the word recommendation. And an advisor will use this all the time. They'll say, hey, we're recommending that you get your brakes done. They're reading at 2 mil of life remaining. Do you want to get them done? And then the customer says, oh, well, it's just a recommendation. Is it definitely due? Yeah, it's definitely due because it's at 2 mil. And we're using the same words to try and get a yes. And it's a safety item. It's a safety item as well. And in many ways, it's insane.
Yeah. Right. What does two
So,
mil mean? Is that good? Is that bad? Who knows?
well,
Yeah.
there's that factor as well. But my problem with the word recommendation or recommend, and people will spike their ears now going, well, I use that word every single day, about 100 times a day. And I'll say, I'm not going to ask you to stop using it, but I'm going to ask you to start reducing the amount of times you use it. Now, between service or between Dealerland and where I am now, the majority of my extracurricular and my personal development has been around psychology, neuroscience, neurolinguistic programming, and which is all around our communication and the words that we use. So for me, word choice is very, very, very important.
Sure.
So what I say to people is that stop recommending, which is what I call a pushing approach. It's pushing something on someone, and start pulling people into an awareness of of what will happen if you don't replace these components, or what will happen if this component is left to its own devices, or the reason why we're actually reporting it to you as a customer. And the reason why we stand out as, now let me go back one level. In the dealership, we are usually more expensive, and I use the word more expensive on purpose there, because we cost more than the aftermarket. We charge more than the aftermarket. Yet the customer says, well, I'm getting my brakes replaced here. My brakes over here are a little bit cheaper in terms of price. Yes, they might be lower quality, but they don't know that. My point is that if we're just using the term recommend, it's risky. So my alternative is that we won't use the term recommend in this sentence, and we'll use a different focus. Bill, give me 2 reasons why customers choose the dealership over the aftermarket. Give me 2 reasons.
Factory trained technicians
That's all I
and
need.
fact.
That's the only one I need. And that was what I asked for two. You gave me the first one perfectly. We haven't even rehearsed this, right?
Nope.
Because you know all the answers because you've been in dealership land for quite a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah.
And everyone listening knows the answers to these questions, but we just probably haven't thought about it this way. My point is that if we remove the word, so my technician's recommending that you replace these brake pads because they're at 2 mil. and restructure the entire sentence. And we'll say, "Hi, Bill. Thank you for giving us the opportunity for to work on your vehicle today. We have one of our factory trained technicians working on it. Now, on inspection, they've identified that your front brake pads are reading at 2 minutes of life remaining. From his experience, he knows that those brakes will not make the next service. In fact, the lower that they get in their material, the less effective they are in an emergency braking situation. Good news, I do have them in stock. You're looking at a total investment today of $248, including GST or including tax, and I can have it ready for you for 4:30 this afternoon. How does that sound?" And the customer will hopefully say, "Yeah, get it
Sounds
done."
good. Do it.
Yeah, because we're giving them all the information up front, and we're not giving the opportunity for, and I inverted commas, objections. And objections are only a thing when you haven't given enough information in the first place. If you haven't given me enough information to make an informed buying decision, that's your fault as a service advisor. So, going back to what I said a few moments ago, the greatest opportunity of a service advisor isn't to just wear their costume, is to have a script and know what to say. So if you rewind this clip, and listen to how I structure that sentence compared to how I use the word recommend, it's very different, but it will be one of the hardest things that a service advisor has to do. They have to change their way to communicate to get better outcomes.
Sure. Yeah, and that's a great segue and kind of the one question, and the question I definitely want to get in our limited time together today, Karen, is the role of technology in the service advisor's job, and specifically around customer communication. I'm a big believer that the conversation is the relationship, whether you're talking to between a service advisor and a customer, or whether you're talking to your spouse for that matter. The conversation is the relationship. And with so many methods of communicating with customers today, I'm curious if you have any recommendations for service advisors in terms of when to make sure that you have a conversation, a voice to voice conversation with a customer, versus when it's wholly appropriate to use, say, digital communications.
I have opinions on this, and going back to what we said at the very start around service advisor turnover, we don't have the stats as such. There's many factors that decide which is which and which is better. I've got my own opinions on it, like I mentioned, and I'm going to share them with you now. Bill, if I don't like you, I'm not going to buy from you because I don't trust you. And the most important factor, without any communication at all, don't worry about the customer communication at all, don't worry about the customer communication at all until you have ensured that you've made an amazing first impression. And in fact, Bill, here's one I prepared earlier. Another pair of socks. What do these ones say, Bill?
Everything rises and falls on a first impression.
Everything rises and falls on a first impression. And if you don't make a great first impression, it doesn't matter what system you use, email, SMS, phone during the day, I'm not going to enjoy speaking to you because you just transacted with me in the morning. So everything rises and falls on a first impression. You have to make that happen. And so that's that part of it. Voice to voice communication during the day. It depends, because the majority of people work all day and they can't take phone calls. And something that I'm not sure how it works in the US, but in Australia, if you live in Victoria, where I live, and you have a phone number will call you, it will be 03 as the first two numbers, which is the area code. Or for Sydney, it's 02. You look at that number and you're like, I'm not going to answer that. I'm going to let it go to voicemail.
Sure.
Because you don't trust the number. It could be a scam. It could be whatever. And you're not in the mindset of, oh, it could be the dealership. You're not thinking that way. Well, most people aren't. And they may not answer the phone. So again, setting up your day in the morning by saying, "Hi, Bill, I'm going to send you an SMS just after you leave. Communicate with me via SMS during the day." Bill, I've got some very good friends at a company called Podium. Are you familiar with Podium?
I'm not, no.
we're not going to use this platform to advocate for them, but Podium are an SMS platform which facilitates two-way SMS communication. And I got involved with them because, well, I helped them get into dealerships over here because it's one of the major shortfalls and things that annoyed the hell out of customers, which is lack of communication during the day. And like we mentioned earlier on about systems and processes, if I'm waiting for a piece of paper to appear in front of me before I do anything with it, it's already a fail. And the number one reason for customer dissatisfaction is that, well, I wasn't communicated with. I had to call 4 times to get an update on my car. You gave me stress and anxiety for no reason. And if I'm not happy with the level of service that I got, Bill, what am I not going to do? I'm not going to
You're
come
not
back,
going to come
right?
back. Yeah.
And that's retention. And it all, like I talk about the 5 levels of service department success, and level 1 is the first impression. Because if you don't make a great first impression, you're not getting retention at level 5. And you must do the right things right. My point is that we send an SMS to the customer during as soon as they leave, and the customer gets an SMS and they're like, "Oh, that's Bill. I'm going to reply to Bill and say, thanks, Bill. Good to meet you this morning." Now, it should be my responsibility as a service advisor to proactively communicate with you with updates on the vehicle, whether it's going into the workshop, whether I need to give you a call, whether there's a slight delay. And the customer, like, Bill, you've received 3 or 4 SMSs during this session, and they're not, you haven't actioned any of them, but you haven't
Mhm.
received any phone calls because you haven't seen you on the phone. But you could have, if one of those was urgent, you could have absolutely responded to that very, very quickly, whether you were at work, in an
Right.
office, a, a school teacher, a policeman, whatever it is, you could respond to it, but you can't take a phone call. So for me, yes, I am advocating for SMS communication, but it needs to be done in such a way that it's personalized and not just automated tick and flick SMSs. Like, there's nothing worse than getting an SMS at the end of the day. Hi, Bill Springer, your vehicle ABC123 is ready for collection. If you want to pay online, click on this link and pay the invoice of $1,500. Thank you. Insert dealership name. You won't
Right.
click that link, Bill, because you think
Yeah.
it's a scam.
Yeah.
And then you'll call the dealership and you're like, "Hey, I just got a message. Is my car ready?" And they're like, "Yeah, we sent you a message." I'm like, "Okay, I wasn't sure if it was legit or not." And the advisors will hear that every day because they tell me this, but the managers won't do anything about it because they're not the one getting that phone call. And the managers will have a problem with the volume of inbound phone calls, and they're not doing anything about stopping the calls, stopping the flow. And then service advisors get burned out because they're answering phone calls all the time, or they put their phones on silent because there's too many inbound phone calls because we haven't got the right systems or strategies. Now, it's 8:30 in the morning where I am, Bill, and I'm already getting quite passionate and worked up about this because, like, it's not just a silver bullet of, "Oh, just say this instead of that and that's your fix." There's
Right.
so much more than that. It's creating a great environment to work in. It's around creating experiences in the morning where not every customer is arriving at the same time. It's around knowing what to say. It's around not operating with a piece of paper and moving toward more of a digital platform where people can see visually exactly the status of a job. It's around automating personalized SMS, leveraging AI. It's around reducing the amount of friction between front and back of house, with the ultimate goal of helping customers want to come back because the experience has been so good. Bill, you're involved in retention strategies with DriveSure and and putting systems in place to achieve that. Excuse me, to achieve that, to achieve customers coming back, and they're extremely useful, but they're not a replacement of the customer service and customer experience. They go
Of
hand in
course.
hand.
That's a great spot, I think, to wrap up. It's where we began and it's where we ended as well. So, um, Kieran, if any of our listeners want to get a hold of you or take you up on that offer to get a copy of your book, how's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Send me a message on LinkedIn. Give us
Okay.
a a follow and a message on LinkedIn, and I'll get back to you. Just mention that you listen to this show with Bill, and make sure you subscribe to Bill's show as well because it's one of the only fixed ops or service related shows that, well, I know it's automotive related shows, but it just dives into the nitty gritty of the role. And I've listened to a number of podcasts, Bill, over the last few months, and I've really, really enjoyed them because they give you ideas. And again, my responsibility as a trainer is to give support and to give advice and to give suggestions and ideas. And you will have listeners who will have taken away a couple of ideas from today and go and implement them. Some of them will be easy, some of them will be a little bit trickier,
Sure.
but it's around the mindset, wearing the costume, and knowing what to say. And they're probably my takeaways for this session.
Super,
Yeah.
super. Well, thank you for those kind words, Kieran, and thanks for being on the show. We'll make sure that we include your LinkedIn contact information in the show notes, and if anyone wants to reach out to you. And yeah, thanks very much for being on the show. It was a great conversation. I appreciate it.
Well, Bill, just a bit of feedback for you as well, mate. You're doing great things in the industry, and don't stop. Like, just keep giving this value, and we'll keep sharing it, and just keep sharing that message, because at the end of the day, without customers coming back, we are just trying to chase our tails. Give good service, and they'll come back. And it
Yep.
doesn't matter what business you're in, even in your
Yep.
business, you must give great service, and if you do, customers come back and they'll stay with you for life. And even the competitors who might be cheaper, they won't be fooled by that. They'll go, no, Bill is my man. Bill is the only way to go. He works for DriveSure, but it's Bill I'm looking for. And
Yeah.
service advisors, the best ones out there, create that reputation for themselves. They truly, truly do.
Yep.
Keep
Thank you
going,
for
Bill.
those
Well done.
kind words. I really appreciate that, Karen. You've been listening to Retention Roadmap, Navigating Service Success for New Car Dealerships. Subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts.